Assalamu alaikum. My name is Ramin Ahmed Fayaz. Today, my group would be presenting about the power crisis in the Pakistan. बेसिकली पहले क्राइसिस को अंडरस्टैंड करना चाहिए कि क्राइसिस है किस वजह से। आपके बेसिकली पावर क्राइसिस आपका जो डैम्स की लेस डैम्स आपके कंट्री के अंदर है, थर्मल प्लांट जो उनसे आपके उसकी जो प्रोडक्शन है वो भी कम है। और फर्दर दूसरे जो सोलर दूसरी फैसिलिटीज जिनके थ्रू आप प्रोडक्शन की जा सकती है इलेक्ट्रिसिटी की, लाइक आपकी एयर विंड मिल्स हो गई, सोलर पैनल्स हो गए, उस तरह के मुख्तलिफ हमारे अभी तक जो उनसे सिस्टम इंस्टॉल नहीं हुए हुए पब्लिकली। सो जिसकी वजह से जो हमें बैड इफेक्ट आ रहा है अकॉर्डिंग टू मैक्रो इकोनॉमिक इनसाइट्स, जो है कि पावर क्राइसिस की वजह से ऑलमोस्ट आपको 82 मिलियन डॉलर्स का जीडीपी पे इफेक्ट आया है 2007 से लेके 2020 तक का। और पर कैपिटल टर्म्स जो क्राइसिस है वो आपका 43,504 है ड्यूरिंग इस पीरियड के। और जो जीडीपी पर कैपिटा भी डिक्रीज हुई है आपकी 23%। और ओवरऑल जो जीडीपी की अप्रोक्सीमेट ग्रोथ जो उनकी है ना, वो भी डिक्रीज हुई है 0.9 टू 1.6 मिलियन जॉब्स पर ईयर, जो एवरेज है ऑलमोस्ट 2007 से लेकर 2008 तक का। और फर्दर शहरियार आपको बताएंगे सर्कुलर डेट के बारे में।
Thank you, Ramel. So circular debt, it is shortfall of payments. Actually, इसमें ये होता है कि स्टेट ओन डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन कंपनीज जो हैं वो अपने टाइम पे पेमेंट्स नहीं करती, जिससे गवर्नमेंट पे प्रेशर पड़ता है और उससे गवर्नमेंट उसमें गवर्नमेंट को मुश्किल आती है वो पेमेंट को देने में। लाइक फ्यूल सप्लायर्स हो गए जो सप्लाई करते हैं आपको फ्यूल भी, और पावर सेक्टर के बारे में भी। सो हियर इज नेक्स्ट स्लाइड प्लीज। So here is the existing structure of power sector, जिसमें गवर्नमेंट ऑफ पाकिस्तान आ जाती है, मिनिस्ट्री ऑफ वाटर एंड पावर आ जाती है, पाकिस्तान एटॉमिक एनर्जी कमीशन आ जाता है, और नेपरा आ जाती है एज अ रेगुलेटर। वो रेगुलेट करती हैं इन सबको। और फिर प्राइवेट सेक्टर्स भी आ जाते हैं, जिसमें आईपीपीज भी आ जाते हैं, वापडा भी आ जाता है, वाटर प्रोजेक्ट्स और मेगा डैम्स के बारे में डिस्कशन जो होती है वो भी आ जाती है, जो हम आगे जाके उस पर बात भी करेंगे। So next slide. So here are the institutes: NEPRA, PEPCO, WAPDA, KESC, PAEC and IPPs, जो हम further discuss करेंगे next slides में। तो I would like to call Hamza Imran to please talk about NEPRA first. Thank you. Hamza आपका म्यूट हुआ है।
My name is Hamza. Thank you so much for introducing me. We're going to be talking about NEPRA and what NEPRA is. उससे पहले हम overall power contribution देखेंगे इसकी पाकिस्तान में कि कौन सा कितने % contribute कर रहा है in power generation। यहाँ पर PAEC भी है, वापडा भी है, IPP थर्मल और हाइड्रो है, जेनको है, और टोटल जो हमारे पास बन रही है वो 23571 million watts है, I guess। आगे moving on to NEPRA, what basically is NEPRA? NEPRA is the National Electric Power Regulatory Authority, and it has been created to govern the exclusive provision of electricity services in Pakistan. पाकिस्तान में जहाँ पे भी बिजली जाती है, बनती है, आती है, कुछ भी होता है बिजली से रिलेटेड, वो NEPRA के अंडर होता है। NEPRA का फंक्शन और रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी ये है कि it has been revamped in the regulation concerning the electricity generation, transmission and distribution. It's in the Amendment Act. उसके अलावा NEPRA was designed to implement clear and sensible economic regulations based on sound business principles. As always, जो भी इदारा पाकिस्तान में चलता है कोशिश यही होती है कि पूरे वो एक रूल्स के तहत चले। तो कोर ऑब्जेक्टिव्स अगले पे अगर हम चलते हैं, कोर ऑब्जेक्टिव्स हैं। हाँ, कोर ऑब्जेक्टिव्स जो NEPRA के हैं वो बेसिकली हैं, जैसे मैं आपको पहले बताया, इशूइंग इलेक्ट्रिसिटी जनरेशन, भी इलेक्ट्रिसिटी की ट्रांसमिशन डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन लाइसेंसेस, और ये सेटिंग एंड इन्फोर्सिंग स्टैंडर्ड्स, इलेक्ट्रिकल स्टैंडर्ड, अप्रूविंग प्लान्स ऑफ यूटिलिटी कंपनीज। कोई कंपनी है जिसने इलेक्ट्रिसिटी हैवी यूज करनी है, फैक्ट्रीज टाइप होता है कुछ, वो उनके लिए जो प्लान्स वगैरह उनके अप्रूवल्स आते हैं वो सारे जो है नेपरा जो हमारे इदारे वो करता है. Establishing electricity generation, transmission, distribution tariffs भी ये हमारे नेपरा के अंदर आता है. Basically everything जो पावर जनरेशन के अंदर आती है ना वो बेसिकली वो नेपरा has a hold on it. This is on the next slide. हम लोग we will look at the hierarchy of the इदारा. प्लीज अगले स्लाइड पे कोई आ सकता है. थैंक यू. ये आप लोगों को जूम करके देखना पड़ेगा. इसके अंदर सारा बताया है कि टॉप पे चेयरमैन है, उसके बाद नीचे आते जाते हैं तो किस तरह कौन कौन सा किस किस का क्या काम है. प्लीज लेट्स मूव ऑन टू द नेक्स्ट स्लाइड जो कि थोड़ी ज्यादा इंपॉर्टेंट है. केपीआई चार्ट. इसमें ग्रोथ पैटर्न फ्रॉम 2005 टू 2015 को हमने कंपेयर किया है और इंडस्ट्रियल ग्रोथ आउटपुट जो है और इंडस्ट्रियल इलेक्ट्रिसिटी कंजम्पशन ये दोनों हमारे सामने है. 2005 में 12.1 था हमारे पास इंडस्ट्रियल ग्रोथ ऑफ आउटपुट और जो इंडस्ट्रियल इलेक्ट्रिसिटी कंजम्पशन थी वो थी 29.3 अप्रॉक्सीमेटली. 2015 के अंदर एज यू कैन सी काफी गंदा फॉल आया है जो कि हमें अब बेसिकली 15 तक हमें मिलता है, उससे आगे का नहीं मिल रहा था. ऑनलाइन भी काफी ढूंढा है तो वहां तक मैंने आपको दिखा दिया. अगली स्लाइड के ऊपर डिमांड सप्लाई कर्व आ जाता है जो कि नेक्स्ट स्लाइड प्लीज. थैंक यू. डिमांड सप्लाई कर्व आ जाता है इसके बाद और एनर्जी मिक्स आ जाता है. एनर्जी मिक्स के अंदर भी अगर आप देखें तो इसके अंदर हाइड्रो पावर, कोल, फ्यूल ऑयल ये सब इन्होंने जो टोटल बना के हमें बताया है कि यार हमारा जो टोटल एनर्जी मिक्स है उसका ये है. लेकिन ये मसला पता है सब में क्या है, ये सारा पूरा नहीं होता. क्यों नहीं होता? क्योंकि देयर आर लॉट ऑफ चैलेंजेस दैट आर बीइंग फेस्ड बाय नेपरा. फॉर एग्जांपल जो सर्कुलर डेट्स है. अगली स्लाइड प्लीज. इसमें मैं बताऊंगा आपको. हाँ, द चैलेंजेस फेस्ड बाय नेपरा. The buildup of circular debt has affected profitability, damaged manufacturing, and exports. Obviously, if you look at the whole, क्या कहते हैं, जो हमने assignment बनाई है उसके अंदर आपको थोड़ा और डिटेल में पता चलेगा कि how the buildup of circular debt has affected profitability, damaged manufacturing, exports. It has also affected new investments in job deployment. क्योंकि obviously बिजली बनाने के लिए आपको बड़ी चीजों की जरूरत होती है और पावर जनरेशन के लिए भी. लेकिन हमारे जो मुल्क की जो डिस्टेबलाइजेशन है उसकी वजह से we are we have to face a lot of issues and a lot of opportunities in terms of government infrastructure and social expenditure जो कि हम लोग गवा देते हैं. उसके अलावा electricity sector circular debt stock has risen from 689 billion to an estimated of 2400 billion since the end of December 2020. 2016 से 3.5 times ज्यादा. इससे हमारा जी आगे मैं आपको बता सकता हूँ 2005 से 2015 तक जितना भी हमारा इफेक्ट्स हुए हैं बिजनेसेस के ऊपर ड्यू टू ऑल दीज रीजंस, वो अगर आप अगले स्लाइड पे चलें तो आप उसको स्टडी कर सकते हैं ग्राफ को. एंड again this is all given in the thorough research that we have done in our assignment. Please do read it. Next I will be calling Faiz Ali for to present on PEPCO.
Okay. I'm Faiz and thank you so much, Hamza. Okay, so I'll be talking about PEPCO. So PEPCO basically was established in 1998 for implementation of the studies plan for privatization of power wing of WAPDA. It is approved by the Council of Common Interest in 1993. It is designed that WAPDA power utilization functions be separated by the power wing, be unbundled and corporatized into DISCOs, GENCOs, and NDDC. Okay, the next slide. Okay, so these are some of the core objectives of PEPCO. Basically, first of all, PEPCO is a private limited company that is the sole purpose is to manage the DISCOs and GENCO. Okay, the role of PEPCO, briefly speaking, is to monitor and coordinate the operations of DISCOs and GENCOs, as I mentioned. And PEPCO was established as managing company to steer and manage and oversee the corporatization and commercialization of reforms programs of the government of Pakistan. PEPCO was asked to utilize their experience for the formulation of effective corporate policies. Yeah, the next slide. Okay, now we can see the corporate governance of PEPCO. PEPCO basically is a holding company that operates as a division of Ministry of Power and Water, Pakistan. And the three entities below PEPCOs that PEPCO basically manages and handles are distribution companies, which are known as DISCOs, generation companies, which are known as GENCO, and National Transmission and Dispatch Company, which is known as NTDC. And on the right side, you can see the structure of the power sector of Pakistan. Okay, the next slide. So because basically the sole responsibility of PEPCO is to manage and overlook and basically coordinate the power division, Ministry of Energy, Government of Pakistan in effectively monitoring and oversight of the distribution companies, which are known as DISCOs. And how does it do it? Basically, it oversights and monitors the DISCOs, which are known as distribution companies, by monitoring of revenue and commercial operation, monitoring and evaluation of financial performance, timely and uniform implementation of emerging technologies like AMI, smart grids, etc. Performance-based career progression to replace the present seniority-based system to promote and retain high-quality HR and weeding out non-performance. And lastly, standardization of benchmarks across the companies like financial, management, technical, and HR. Okay, next slide. Okay, so first of all, PEPCO was sacked in 2012. So over the last almost a decade, it has not been operational. So because that it doesn't have much effect on the business side of the Pakistan. So, but after it was reinitiated and like just recently by the government, it has some plans which I think will help the business of Pakistan to grow. So basically, PEPCO in the 1990s was gearing to restructure the power sector under the approved plan, but WAPDA was handed over to Pakistan Army, and they immediately sacked PEPCO's management and took over its charge. So it was the first challenge which was faced by PEPCO in the 1990s. So after that, the performance of both PEPCO and power companies continued to deteriorate due to the influence and intrusion of the Water and Power Ministry, even before it was sacked in 2012. And operations were held for almost a decade, which resulted in no progress, basically, and no growth because of PEPCO. And obviously, the increase in supply of electricity has not been efficient, and yes, over the last few years, PEPCO's role was virtually eliminated. Okay. Okay, now coming to the budget. In the fiscal year 2020, the government initially expected the disbursement of 270 billion in subsidy, but later the projection was revised upward to 350 billion because of the grant of subsidy to power distribution companies, DISCOs. And the government has slashed the subsidy budget by 26% for the fiscal year 2021, beginning July, of which the major reduction will be borne by the power sector. As you can see, the budget was increasing, but lately for the year 2021, it is slashed by 26%. Okay. Okay. So these are some of the plans that PEPCO has. Okay, the government has desired and requested all distribution companies to consider a proposal to appoint PEPCO as their managing agent through a proper 10-year binding agreement, which has recently happened, extendable for another 10 years to improve the management of the power sector in general and the power distribution sector in particular, and to allow the managing agent to effectively and properly carry out the functions for which it was originally set up to. Basically, PEPCO is known as a managing agent because it manages distribution companies and generation companies and NTDC. PEPCO shall oversee the implementation of government vision for the power sector and measures for the performance improvement, besides facilitating the DISCOs in the formation of corporate strategies, setting of performance targets, and defining planning parameters and evaluation measures. It will also monitor the performance of DISCOs and matters including technical, financial, revenue, and commercial operations. PEPCO will also facilitate the DISCOs in formulating strategies for productivity enhancement and performance improvement, promotion and development of commercial, technical, financial, and management skills and structures, and carry out special performance audits. And I believe all of these factors will contribute to the growth of business in the country for future. Now I'd like to call Shariar to speak on WAPDA.
Thank you, Faz. So WAPDA was established through Act of Parliament in 1958. It basically comes under the federal government. There is one chairman and 3 members. Main role of WAPDA is to use water, hydropower resources, and to be at affordable and to come up with a clean electricity. Next slide, please. So core objectives are to generate electricity at an affordable price, transmit the lines because पाकिस्तान में बहुत बड़ा मसला है ये ट्रांसमिट लाइंस का, जिसकी वजह से इलेक्ट्रिक लोड शेडिंग भी बहुत ज़्यादा हो रही है और इस वजह से काफ़ी में नुकसान होता है WAPDA को to distribute electricity wisely to prevent water logging, to manage flood water effectively. जब to manage flood water effectively. Next slide, please. Corporate governance, basically इनका कोई as such organogram नहीं था till December 2020. उसके बाद लाहौर हाई कोर्ट ने फेडरल गवर्नमेंट को कहा कि आपको एक नए रेगुलेटरी के साथ आना पड़ेगा और एक नई अपॉइंटमेंट्स करनी पड़ेंगी, जिसमें आप चेयरमैन अपॉइंट करोगे रोटेशन से फ्रॉम ऑल द प्रोविंसेस, and chairman and members with no executive powers shall not be appointed to oversee the formulations. Next slide, please. ये organization chart है जो के 2021 जनवरी में बना था. Next slide. KPIs and budget: increase in collection, reducing transmission and distribution losses. जो मैंने पहले भी बात की ट्रांसमिशन की वजह से बहुत ज़्यादा लॉस हो रहा था, लोड शेडिंग की ड्यूरेशन ज़्यादा बढ़ गई थी. लास्ट बजट में 124 बिलियन was allocated to WAPDA, which is 53% of total allocation. और subsidies भी काफ़ी दी गई थी, लाइक IPPs को, जो अभी रिसेंटली जो एग्रीमेंट हुआ था PTI गवर्नमेंट का IPPs के साथ. नेक्स्ट स्लाइड प्लीज. challenges, next slide please. Next please. Challenges by WAPDA. He's account that 20 days वो possible तभी होगा जब हम dams बनाएंगे. अभी recently in I guess 2019 or 2018 के end में मोहम्मद and Diamir dam चता हुआ था, जिसमें ट्रांसमिशन 10% जो वाटर फ्लो है वो इंक्रीज करके 30 to 40% एनुअल रिवर फ्लो तक जा सकता है. So thank you everyone. Now I would like to call Alina to further discuss.
Assalamu alaikum everyone. So I'll be analyzing KESC. KESC is a Karachi-based powerhouse which was founded in 1913, and it abbreviates for Karachi Electric Supply Company. Currently, Syed Munis Abdullah Alvi is the CEO of the company. Next slide, please. Now I'll discuss some of the core objectives of the company. So the first and foremost purpose of the company is to work towards a better and prosperous Karachi. Then there are some of the key functions of the company, which include value creation, generation, transmission, and distribution. So KESC is the only company that performs all of these three functions, that is generation, transmission, and distribution. So in terms of generation, KESC invested a lot in to increase its generation capacity in the past years, and it increased up to 1,057 megawatts in the last 5 years. Now the overall electricity that this company distributes has 55% of it is generated in its own system. Now, for its transmission and distribution, KESC introduced insulated cables for the purpose of safer transmission and distribution, and this technique has reduced the transmission and distribution losses up to 22%. Next, we see that the load shedding free zones in Karachi. Previous slide, please. Next, we see that the load shedding free zones in Karachi decreased from 36% to 61% in 2009. One of the main objectives of KESC is to follow all the standard and assure all the standard rules and principles, which include health and safety measures and all sorts of environment related assurance. Now, by 2017, this company has conducted 55,729 safety trainings. Next slide, please. Now we'll discuss the corporate governance structure of the company. So before I move on to the structure, I'll discuss their governance strategy. The governance strategy of the company is based on 4 key rules, 4 key elements, which include thought leadership, knowledge-based learning, social responsibility, and values. Now, it is the main purpose of the company to balance the economics and environmental needs through accountability, integrity, and drive for constant improvement. The governance body of K Electronics comprises of company's board of directors, legal advisors, and auditors. Next slide, please. Now we'll see that there are 4 positions in the company's board of directors. Where first we have the chairman, who is also the CEO of the company. After that, we have chief executive officer, and side by side we have independent director, under whom we have 10 non-executive directors. Next slide, please. Now we'll discuss the performance of the company over the past years. So here we have some of the KPIs. First is generation peak efficiency. We see that in 2014, the generation peak efficiency of K Electronics was 37.0%. And in 2017, it decreased to 36.7%. And then again, in 2018, it increased to 37.4%. And lastly, in 2019, it decreased to 37.1%, which was a slight decrement. And then in 2020, it again increased to 37.7%. Next slide, please. Next, we have recovery ratio. So in